Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. This is Ursie. Okay, well, we're in the latter parts of November, and then we have December before we say goodbye to this incredible year, 2022. For me, it began with a reading from Raven Many Voices, who said, Ursula, this is the year to roar. And if you allow yourself to roar, you can then find other star and soul family members. And what a delight it's been to initiate the Ascension Playground, to co create with you, my wonderful subscribers, and to find such incredible star soul family members. So thank you, thank you. And speaking of the stars, today I'd like to offer a little bit of information that I've collected. It's still forming itself, but I thought I'd give you a little taste test on what's called the Andromeda Galaxy. So, together, as we are learning more about our galactic awareness and developing a galactic consciousness, to see ourselves as more than just human beings on Earth, but now to start understanding when we look up in the heavens, what are we seeing? And how does it impact or influence my life now? Okay, so here's a little slideshow I'm going to share on the Andromeda Galaxy. It's so beautiful, by the way. When you start seeing these pictures, you're going to be like, oh, that's the Andromeda Galaxy. So here we go. Part of what I truly enjoy is teaching myself and putting together these little visuals so that I can go deeper and having these galactic astrology conversations with you. Okay, so here we see behind me is the beautiful James Webb Telescope, one of the first images that came forward this year. It's magnificent. When you look carefully, we're not just seeing stars, we're actually seeing galaxies as well, or potential galaxies. So let's start. Andromeda Galaxy. Dun, da, da, da. Look at this gorgeous, amazing, what do we call this? This spiralic galaxy. It's moving. It's basically, if you have good eyesight or a good telescope, you can see this from Earth. Okay. And so I put this slide in to give a little introduction for the narrative of in the beginning. When we look at all the research and we start moving into this idea of our origin story, there's so many ancient ways of holding origin. I was born in the United States, and so I was raised with a sense of the Bible, and there was a beautiful creation in Genesis, and so that was one of the beautiful and amazing stories. But in this case, I'm going to talk to this broader view of creation, and that is beginning with source creator. So creator source that wanted to know itself and expand even more so. Expansion. And so when you look at Lissa Royal Holt's book, The Prism of Lyra, she starts this idea that from source, then we move into what's the grouping called the founders. These were the energetic beings of love and light that set the blueprint, the architects for how to expand within source. And I just want to add that if we truly are divine humans, the spark of God within each of us, then I have a sense, a very strong sense, that we're each fractals of Creator Source. And there's parts of us, if we allow ourselves to go into meditation, that we too can remember being part of the founders. Okay, so from the founders, moved into this next level of beingness, which is more collective. We're not incarnate yet. There are no physical beings just yet. It's energy, basically moving and expanding outward. And so there's this Andromeda and Arcturus energy, these collective beings of light and love, again, from source to the founders to Andromeda and Arcturus. This is not necessarily the place or the Arcturus as a star or Andromeda as a constellation. We're still talking about broader entities. But when we start talking about Lyra, however, again, according to Lissa Royal Holt, who has channeled this information from a being named Sasha, Lyra, when you look at our galactic heritage and our cosmic journeying, is where we began. And so it begins, right? From creator source to the founders, to the Andromeda and Arcturian energies, and then Lyra. And from Lyra, we move throughout the galaxy, and yes, eventually move towards an awareness and understanding as beings on Earth. All right, but let's get back to that Andromeda Galaxy. Different than the constellation. However, so it is located within Andromeda constellation. So when I first began this awareness around the language of the galaxy, I had to learn what's the difference between a constellation and a galaxy. So, what I could say to you is a constellation is basically a grouping of stars. A galaxy is much broader. We are currently in what's called the Milky Way Galaxy. Okay, so when we look at the Andromeda constellation, there is a point where you can find the galaxy. And if you follow these green arrows, or from the top, follow down with the yellow arrows, all the arrows are pointing to the Andromeda Galaxy. And I'm just going to say from the beginning, it is confusing because you think, oh, is the Andromeda Galaxy, a system within the constellation? Well, that's what it looks like, right? Well, I'm going to answer that question in a minute. Here it is. If you ever want to find the Andromeda Galaxy using astro.com or AstroSeek, look for its other scientific names. M31 or Messier 31 or NGC 224. It's a spiral galaxy. And they say, I wrote down approximately 2.5 million light years from Earth. That is, even though it looks like it's in the constellation, it is so far out. It appears to be part of the constellation, but it's actually a separate asterism. And they're really not located near one another at all. Here's another diagram I wanted to share for those of you who have like star tracking systems on your phone. I think Star Walk is one. If you can find Cassiopeia, the queen, and you move down through Shadar, it'll give a beeline right to the Andromeda Galaxy. And look at this beautiful image right above me, the galaxy. Now, I did go searching for some images on Google, and I did find this very peculiar image where I added Pegasus, but this particular slide says the center of the Andromeda Galaxy is actually in the Pegasus constellation, even though we've placed it in Andromeda scientifically. Now, as many of you may have listened to one of my earlier YouTube reports on the fixed star Shiat in Pegasus, you'll know that Andromeda and Pegasus are right up against each other and they share a common star. Okay, they share the star Alpheratz. So if you go on my little playlist and look for fixed star Alpheratz, you'll see how Pegasus and Andromeda are conjoined. So I love this little thought bubble here that is the center of the Andromedan galaxy really in Pegasus? Well, here's a picture I wanted to share with you. This is this Uranus I'm going to pause. So here we see a picture of Andromeda, the chained princess. Now, this image is cropped and it is from what's called Urania's mirror. I bought a box of stars and love these images because it helps me remember the story behind or that is metaphorically attached to the constellation. So I've circled in red, if you can see, where it has a little V marking. It means vertex. So the Andromeda Galaxy is located in the thigh of the chained princess. Now, when you study the Andromeda constellation, different than the galaxy, the theme of freedom is a common denominator between the two. Freedom is essential. It is the battle cry. And if you know the story of Andromeda, she was chained to a rock as basically an offering to the sea monster Cetus, because her mother boasted about how beautiful her daughter Andromeda was. And the sea nymphs did not like this. And so they told Neptune to go send the sea monster and create havoc for the Ethiopian king and queen. So this is the female sacrifice. And luckily, she was not eaten by the sea monster, but this idea of freedom is key. But here's the location of where essentially the Andromeda Galaxy is located, even though we've just learned that it's not even near the constellation, it's way further back. The galaxy is many, many light years back. What did I do? Oh, in astrologyking.com, where you can find so much wonderful information, though some of the write ups on the stars is referring back to the ancient scripting of beware of drowning or might have poisoning. So I think someone could do well by bringing the language of the stories into 2022. But thank you, Jamie, with astrologyking.com. Here's what he said. The Andromeda constellation and vertex is noted as the point for the galaxy. And he cites back to, according to Ptolemy, the influence of this constellation holds the energy of Venus. Okay, Venus. And some say it's actually connected to Virgo. Again, feminine energy. It's supposed to bestow, let's see, purity of thought, virtue, honor, and dignity for anyone who may have an Andromeda Galaxy soul connection, let's say. Okay, and the part that I like is sometimes certain stars are associated with one of the tarot cards. In this case, the galaxy is connected with the 17th tarot called the stars. Love that. Thank you, Jamie. Here now, we're getting a nice quote from Julia Balaz. And as many of you know, I'm one of her certified quantum soul guidance practitioners. If you decide to take her course to become a practitioner, please feel free to use my affiliate link in the description below. But here's what Julia says about the Andromeda Galaxy. That this reality is very different than our Milky Way Galaxy. The Milky Way consciousness, and this is also based on Lisa Royal Holt, is all about duality and polarity, trying to find integration and balance. In the Andromeda Galaxy, a whole different system, it's all about the flow of change. Things are just moving and changing so differently. So from what Julia has found in her research is she would equate being in the galaxy of Andromeda to be like a psychedelic trip where humans morph into animals and then they morph into geometric shapes. So this idea of constant flow. And so they're learning something different and attuning to this idea of constant change in the Andromeda Galaxy. So see the difference, Milky Way, Andromeda. So it's very different. And then I wanted to bring up this idea when you do more research that here we have the Andromeda Galaxy and then we have our Milky Way. And many have said that from the Andromeda Galaxy was born our Milky Way Galaxy. So when we think of Andromeda and the galaxy itself, we can think of that as the mother from which our galaxy was born. And if you have a moment to go also look at the YouTube video I did on the evolution of stars, there is this idea of evolutionary processes. From, let's see, the dying of a star, it sheds its gas and particles, etc., and other things coalesce and are born. So it's in a beautiful way, energy never dies. Even if it appears to be dead, a lot more is happening in this transformative evolutionary cycle, which we see on Earth, but then we look in the heavens, and it's fascinating how it's also replicated as above, so below. So, Andromeda Galaxy as our mother galaxy. I went and then looked up what Debbie Solaris on debbiesolaris.com was talking about in this particular case, the Andromeda Galaxy. And she pointed to the beautiful fixed star named Antares. Now, many of you have been listening. You know that the beautiful fixed star Antares, it's a huge red supergiant star, and it's associated as one of the four royal stars that hold up the heavens. Well, Antares, according to Debbie and some of her galactic work, is a stargate that was created as a star portal that connects the Andromeda Galaxy to the Milky Way. Almost feels like the umbilical cord of sorts. If you think of the umbilical cord as a kind of stargate transportation system. So it's very different when you find beings who move from Antares and the Andromeda Galaxy here into our Milky Way system. Go check out your own natal soul connections chart from Julia Balaz's galacticastrochart.com, the free calculator. See if you've got Antares activated and the Andromeda Galaxy. You know, if you do, attune into in meditation, what does this mean? Because if you look at what Debbie Solaris starts talking about Antares and these two galaxies, she says there's a very specific energy if you've come through this portal. Let's see, she says, through this portal, many etheric or non-physical beings have come and arrived here into our galaxy. Let's see. And some of the challenges by coming in from such a high level place of beingness, you know, think Andromeda, high level, and it's not singular, they're groups of 12D and above beings. So they're coming here to have an earth experience. They almost have to lower their frequency, right? So she says some individuals who have these markings may have trouble in this earth lifetime in these denser frequencies. But they're here because they're dedicated to helping support the shift of ages for moving Mother Earth into the fifth dimension. And some of us know already that we're popping back and forth between 3D and 5D. So when I say helping us move to, in some ways we are already there and we're toggling of sorts. Okay. Added a little bit more about Debbie Solaris while I'm showing these beautiful pictures. Sometimes astronomers will look up and call that little gaseous area of the Andromeda Galaxy, like they say it looks like a galactic smear or a smudge, you know? But then they zoom in more with their infrared and various other types of lenses, and they can start seeing what's going on in this galaxy that's the closest one to Earth, okay, to our galaxy. Let's see, what does Debbie say? Said the same thing. They're having a little trouble shifting into being here in 3D now. And as many of you advanced who are listening have already discovered, there is this hypothesis that, believe me, in 4.5 billion years, if any of us decide to come back, and that's B with the billion with the B, that the mother Andromeda Galaxy will collide with the Milky Way. And so I believe this is just an artist's rendering of the potential. What's going to happen when they merge together and form a giant elliptical galaxy? Imagine us here in 3D merging back with our mother. That would be interesting. And then thank you to Vashta.com for her beautiful and very intriguing starseed um, paintings that have come through of the galactic beings. You may have heard me say, and I'll say it again, we as humans feel much more comfortable when entities look more like us. The more human, the less afraid we are, perhaps. So it's just about acclimating our senses and saying what we're seeing sometimes is just visual energies, okay? And so sometimes artists, it's not to induce fear, but just knowing that not everyone looks like us. And there's something very interesting about star seeds from the Andromeda Galaxy. So I pulled together a little more information that Julia has posted in her class. If you decide to join us in class for the Quantum Soul Guidance, it's in Module 7. She says we currently have a lot of beings now on Earth from the Andromeda Galaxy. Their souls are fragments of these Andromeda Galaxy souls. So thinking in terms of fragmented soul, right? And most of Julia's early work was based on Dolores Cannon with QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis therapies. So this idea of, past life regressions, you're just remembering things, you're saying things, and they're coming off, from sometimes lifetimes that are off planet. Hard to imagine, but the research is out there, not just with Dolores, but quite a few other books that I've read too, thinking that you're just going to hear stories of, oh, I used to be an Indian chief, or maybe I was a guru, or maybe I was just, a pioneer. Anyway, what Julia says, if you find that you have these particular soul connections, the potential is that you can tap into the quantum intelligence with ease. So, one of the markers may be, do you find it easy to receive downloads? Is meditation or your way of receiving downloads much easier, let's say, than a normal human being? Typically, you can connect, then download and express this information coming from outer space to support the human evolution as we move into this cosmic journey into 5D. Let's see. Oh, if I haven't mentioned this before, there's a lovely woman named Aspen Rain. She wrote a beautiful ebook that you can purchase called The Star Seeds Compass. The Star Seeds Compass by Aspen Rain. And I believe Aspen has a YouTube channel, so you can go check her out too. Anyway, I did pull just the little chart that she gave about Andromeda Galaxy starseed alignments. What you want to do is look at where 27 degrees Aries is in your chart. Okay. If you have planets or one of the, ascendant, descendant, midheaven, nadir, if you have that in conjunction, these are ways to understand, do I have a soul connection with this amazing galaxy? So in this chart, you can see 26 degrees Aries, 27 and 28. So 1 degree of orb on either side. And then she gives the degrees for opposition, trining, sextiling, and squaring. Those are the primary 5 aspects we use in astrology and also in galactic soul connection astrology. Okay, so sharing Aspen Rain. And I wanted to end here with another beautiful image of Andromeda Galaxy. Look at this. Look at this. It is just stunning. It's stunning. I just feel like I could look at this. I could zoom in, zoom out. There is something about this idea of the spiral, more elliptical, right? Just, it's so gorgeous. How can we not but move into more of a galactic appreciation when we see images like this. For me, it's just like it moves me forward. And I just want to say, oh, home, home, right? Well, I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you so much for joining me on the Ascension Playground. You guys, it's close to Thanksgiving and Christmas, the holidays. I just want to offer from my heart the gratitude for you being here, for commenting, liking, or sharing. Thank you for subscribing. It's really a treat. So your energy keeps me moving. I hope if you have questions about the Andromeda Galaxy, that you'll consider putting them into the chat box, or just take a look outside, see if you can find the Andromeda constellation, and then see if you can find where that thigh is to find the vertex point for the Andromeda Galaxy. All right. See you next time on the Ascension Playground.